If you thought the Lego Movie was making some political or social commentary,
Hello?
then you probably missed the entire point. The real meaning is much
deeper.
Today I'm here to tell you what the Lego Movie was really all about. My name is Kyle J. Shower and welcome to the Kyle J. Show. 2024 marks the 10-year anniversary for the first Lego Movie, and so it seems like the perfect time to dive into this absolutely beautiful, once-in-a-generation, cinematic masterpiece. I seriously love it. It's in my top 5 best animation movies of all time. Even a decade later, I'll sit down and rewatch this movie, and it still hits every time. I'm not the type of person to rewatch things. It's very rare I find a movie that's worth sitting through more than once, but the Lego Movie never gets old for me. It's got a unique, captivating visual appeal. It has this fast-paced, absurd humor where I always find something new to laugh at with every view. And the meaning.
Daddy, chill.
Well, that's what we're here to talk about. This video is not gonna be about whether or not I like the cinematography, the screenplay, or the voice actors. There's plenty of channels that you can go to for that. I'm not a movie critic, I'm a meaning critic. And the meaning of the Lego Movie holds a very special place in my heart. And not because of the nostalgia of playing with Legos. I fucking hated Legos growing up. I like to play with spaceships.
I can build a spaceship!
But I didn't like to build spaceships, you know?
That's okay. I didn't really want to build a spaceship anyway.
Nothing against anyone who liked or still likes playing with Legos. It's just not my preference. And the Lego Movie's genius starts here, because the writers took into account the fact that everyone has their own preference on Legos. Rather than creating some mediocre movie, baiting in a nostalgic fan base, they took Legos and created something fun and original that holds a powerful message for all of us, no matter your preference. So to start us off, I want to show you how they did this by breaking down the Lego metaphor. After this movie was released, there was a lot of discussion about what the writers were trying to communicate. Some saw it as commentary on our politics.
Hi, I'm President Business, president of the Octan Corporation and the world.
Commentary on corporations.
Yo, that's $37.
Or commentary on power structures.
In Octan, they make good stuff. Music, dairy products, coffee, TV shows, surveillance systems, all history books, voting machines. Wait a minute.
However, I don't think this movie can be reduced to fit in just one of those boxes. The central theme is about something deeper. Something that you might say lays at the very building blocks of our lives. I see what you did there, Kyle. Good one. You see, in the Lego world, everything is made of Legos. Their homes are Legos. Their animals, their ocean, their minds are all made of Legos. So when they build something, they're not building a toy, they're building their life. It's a simplified, imaginal version of our real world, but instead of having 100+ elements packed into a table that looks like a shitty game of Tetris, they have one singular element that makes up everything. When the mind of the subjective Lego person meets the objective Lego element, they're able to build the very ground on which they stand. The Lego person's ability to build Legos is a metaphor for our ability to create meaning. Come on, guys, did you really not see that coming? Meaning is what I do, I live, I breathe, I eat, I am meaning! This metaphor opens up the story to an infinite amount of applications to us in the real life. Meaning lies at the heart of everything we do, in a concrete sense and also in a more theoretical sense. Art, philosophy, architecture, politics all stem from our ability to create meaning. The focus of this movie surrounds our unique, innate ability to be creative. Within each one of us is a creative potential. However, this natural potential creates a natural tension with our reality. And in just a moment, we'll see how the overarching metaphor of the Lego Movie addresses how we should contend with the conflict of creativity. The movie begins with a face-off between two characters, Vitruvius and Lord Business, basically Black Jesus and Megamind. Lord Business defeats Vitruvius and takes into possession the most powerful superweapon called the Kraggle.
The Kraggle!
As Lord Business is walking off with what he came for, Vitruvius tells us of the prophecy.
One day, a talented lasso fellow, a special one with face of yellow, will make a piece of resistance found from its hiding refuge underground. And with a noble army at the helm, this master builder will thwart the Kraggle and save the realm. and be the greatest, most interesting, most important person of all times. All this is true because it rhymes.
From here, we fast forward 8.5 years into the future, where we get introduced to the main character, Emmett. In our introduction, he wakes up out of bed and immediately goes to the instructions, which is what you do when you play with Legos, right? You follow the instructions. As Emmett follows the instructions of his day, we watch what appears to be the entire city following this same instruction. Nothing for them is out of the ordinary. They watch the same TV show, listen to the same song. They all have the same routine, and it's all run by the same corporation. Kind of reminds me of the Barbie movie, which I happen to also have done a review on. As Emmett is leaving work, he spots a Lego lady who's captured his eye not only for her beauty, but also because she's not following the instructions.
Yeah, the rules specifically state worksite closes at 6. It's a hard hat area only.
As he goes after her, he falls into a hole and stumbles upon the piece of resistance. When Emmett touches the piece, it appears to inject DMT into his veins, and he starts tripping balls and passes out. When he wakes up, he's been captured and is interrogated by good cop, bad cop.
Friendly neighborhood police officer. Would you like a glass of water?
Yeah, actually. That's
Too bad.
Emmett gets bombarded with some life-altering reality checks. To start, the piece of resistance has been attached to him. Then he finds out President Business is going to end the world, and to wrap it all up, he realizes he has no friends and he's the most ordinary, unspecial person who's ever existed.
When you say Harry, I go, when you say the other guy, I go.
As they're about to kill him and remove the piece of resistance, the Lego lady from earlier shows up and rescues him. We find out her name is Wildstyle.
Wild Style? Yep. What are you, a DJ?
And she's a master builder. In the Lego world, a master builder is one who can take the Legos around them and turn it into whatever they imagine. We see this in action during the escape scene when Wildstyle takes the pieces around her and turns it into a motorcycle. At first, Wildstyle believes Emmett is the special, the one spoken of in the prophecy, but she quickly realizes that he doesn't fit the description at all.
Can't do this! That is against the instructions!
Oh no.
She's pretty pissed about this, because her people, the Master Builders, have been waiting for the special to arrive so that they can end their war and defeat President Business.
All the people of the universe were once free to travel and mingle and build whatever they wanted. But President Business was confused by all the chaos. So he erected walls between the worlds and became obsessed with order and perfection. And he hired Bad Cop to hunt down all the Master Builders who were always changing everything. And those of us who remained, well, we went into hiding. Built the tunnels to survive.
This is a classic tale of order versus chaos. Man, I wish I had time to do a full mythological breakdown of this movie, but we'd be here all day. But for now, we're just gonna focus on how the creative potential within us all throws us into tension between order and chaos. This tension is the conflict of creativity. Now, for the most part, people associate order as something that's good, and chaos as something that's bad. You know, nobody's putting that they're chaotic as a key attribute on their resume. However, I want to withhold any judgments for a moment and look at what this movie might be communicating about the two concepts. In the Lego world, the tension between order and chaos has manifested itself into two conflicting narratives. The narrative that lies on the side of order believes that when we create things, we should follow the instructions. Then the other narrative on the side of chaos believes that when we create the instructions, you should just follow your heart. The war between President Business and the Master Builders is a war between these two narratives. This conflict couldn't be more fitting for the Lego movie. When we play with Legos in the real world, people are typically working within one of these two frameworks. Some create according to the instructions, and some create according to their heart. The writers took these two ways we play with Legos and turned it into a metaphor that expands its reach into the way we create almost everything in our life. If you'll allow me to not be so black and white for a moment, I can give you a few very general examples. In our politics, conservatives lean towards follow the instructions, and liberals lean towards follow your heart. Generally speaking. In religion, fundamentalists lean towards follow the instructions, while deconstructionists lean towards follow your heart. And both of those are bound up within different cultures, where collectivist societies tend to lean more towards follow the instructions, and individualist societies lean towards follow your heart. Generally speaking. Of course, there's exceptions to all of these, but how we run our government, practice our beliefs, or build societies is largely determined on whether or not we create our ideas based on the narrative of follow the instructions or follow your heart. You probably resonate with one of those more than the other. And not just because of the culture you were raised in, but also how you're psychologically wired. Growing up, I hated Legos. I hated following the instructions. I hate IKEA! But you might love all those things because we all have our own subjective preferences that lean us naturally one way or the other. But is there a point where we lean too far? I don't know, maybe something like a furniture store that forces their customers to go through a horror maze and pay money in exchange for hours of assembling labor on what was supposed to be a nice, relaxing Sunday afternoon. That coffee table. Oh man, that was the worst coffee table of my life. But back to the Lego Movie. I think they've done a good job so far at depicting the way creativity suffers when you lean too far into the narrative that says follow the instructions. In the world dominated by President Business and the Octane Corporation, there's no sense of imagination. New and original ideas are non-existent. Every day they wake up and they do the same exact thing. The one TV show they watch has the same script and the same joke played on repeat.
Hilarious. That never gets old. It does not.
The one song they listen to sounds like someone asked ChatGPT to make the most generic pop song ever recorded.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool.
He essentially wants everyone to be like his army of robots. Anything unique, original, different, or weird has no place in society.
Okay, it says here to take everything weird and blow it up.
A quick surface-level assessment of all this might see it as a world full of conforming sheep mindlessly doing what they're told. And while all of this might be well and true, at the core of it, the central issue is that there's no value in creativity. In a world that leans too far to the narrative that we should follow the instructions, creativity becomes stifled, unimportant, and meaningless. Now, before you follow your heart, people get too excited. There's some issues on your side as well that we'll see in just a moment. In the next scene, Emmett and Wildstyle meet up with Vitruvius, and they try and find a way to unlock the Master Builder within Emmett. But he really does not have it.
Introducing the double-decker couch.
That is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That idea is just the worst.
They get interrupted by Bad Cop with the army of robots, and they go on this long chase, where Emmett actually gets his first original idea.
Hey, I did it!
And eventually they're saved by another Master Builder, Batman. He takes him to the secret meeting place for all the Master Builders called Cloud Cuckoo Land. And here it is, the exact opposite of the city controlled by President Business.
Here in Cloud Cuckoo Land, there are no rules. There's no government, no babysitters, no bedtimes.
All the Master Builders gather here to hear the words of Emmett.
Including, but not limited to, Robin Hood, Mermaid Lady, Gandalf, Swamp Creature, 1980-something Space Guy, 2002 NBA All-Stars, and Wonder Woman.
We can see the Master Builders are all heroes from pop culture. They're the creators of things that hold incredible value to our society. And as Emmett stands before them, he decides to go with a more honest approach.
Yes, it's true. I may not be a master builder. I may not have a lot of experience fighting or leading or coming up with plans or having ideas in general. In fact, I'm not all that smart. And I'm not what you'd call a creative type. I know what you're thinking. He is the least qualified person in the world to lead us. And you are right.
Here we begin to see the way creativity suffers when you lean too far into the narrative that says, follow your heart. In the mind of each Master Builder, they created their own individual idea of what this special is supposed to be like. Each one has their own standard of creativity, and they probably would even define it differently. They don't have a single thought that unites them all together, so they quickly become divided.
A house divided against itself would be better than this.
Abraham Lincoln!
Emmett is willing to step up to the challenge of being the special, but living up to the standards of every individual Master Builder is something no one is capable of. In a world that leans too far into the narrative that you should follow your heart, creativity becomes the divided, unattainable, impossible standard. When Emmett's speech bombs metaphorically, the robots show up and bomb literally. A few of the Master Builders actually decide to work together and manage to escape, but the rest of the heroes in all of Cloud Cuckoo Land are defeated. We see them fall from the skies above and into the ocean depths below. Oddly enough, they end up escaping the clutches of President Business by hiding in the double-decker couch that Emmett built. The crew now looks to Emmett to come up with an idea, and Emmett decides that they need to do something that unites them.
What's the last thing Lord Business expects Master Builders will do? It's follow the instructions.
So Emmett plans a heist to infiltrate the lair of President Business and save the world. And like every good heist, there's always a twist. So I'm gonna skip all the drama and go to the part when right when they're about to win, they lose. I mean, they got pretty damn far, but with only a handful of master builders working together, it's not enough to defeat President Business. Their plan was spoiled, and in the midst of it all, Vitruvius was decapitated. Of course, a good heist can never have just one twist. And with his last dying breath, he tells everyone that the prophecy was made up!
I made it up. It's not true.
But that means I'm not the special.
In this moment, the people of the Lego world experience what the entire Western world went through when we discovered it's not the sun that revolves around the Earth, but it's the Earth that revolves around the sun. Their reality has been exposed. The entire structure of which they place their faith, hope, and purpose has been swept out from beneath their feet. In a world that is post-enlightenment, what is there to do when the meaning of it all has been revealed to be a myth that was just made up? The myth of being special is something we hear pretty often in modern children's stories. We even believe that part of building a healthy environment for a child to grow up in is one that tells them how special they are. It's a nice idea for a child, but at some point we all have to enter adulthood. We have to face reality for what it is, and when we get there, a lot of people come to the conclusion that the idea of being special was just made up, like Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy. Many of us enter into adulthood just following the instructions. We do whatever is asked of us by society. We go along making sure the actions we make and the person we become is in accordance with the demands of our friends and family or community. Any sense of being special disappears because life is just based on doing exactly what you're told and nothing more. Your very being becomes a meaningless repetition of thousands before you who have already been there, done that. And in many cases, it leads people down a path to nihilism. On the other hand, many of us enter into adulthood just following your heart. We create our own personal idea of what it means to be special, and as adults, we look to manifest and become that special, whatever that means. For some, they live life perpetually dissatisfied. They can never be proud of where they're at because there's someone out there who's better or more special. Others come up against certain obstacles and they become bitter and resentful towards whatever it is that's standing in their way. If these people don't give up and go down a path to nihilism, then they end up spending their whole life down a path striving for a false idealism. Whether you follow the instructions or follow your heart, the harsh reality of adulthood leads many to conclude that the myth of being special was just made up. This pushes people to the fringes of nihilism or idealism, two philosophies that have consumed our world in the 19th and 20th centuries and led to destruction unlike anything we've ever seen. It's crushed societies, it's crushed the individual, and in similar fashion, it's crushed our heroes in the Lego movie. When we find out the prophecy was just made up, it seems that all hope is lost. Lord Business throws the piece of resistance into the infinite abyss of epicness and releases the Kraggle. Emmett and the rest of the Master Builders are tied down and have to watch the whole world suffer until the timer counts down to 0 where they'll all be blown up. But just then, the ghost of Vitruvius shows up and he has more to say to Emmett.
Because the only thing anyone needs to be special is to believe that you can be.
Emmett gazes into the abyss of nihilism and false idealism that surrounds them and decides to do something a little absurd. He wiggles his way to the edge of the building and takes a leap of faith. Are you serious? Another pun? Actually, no, it was a reference to Kierkegaard. And doing something absurd was a reference to Camus. And gaze into the abyss was a reference to Nietzsche, so f you, I'm doing something here.
My bad.
Anyways.
All right.
Emmett chooses to believe that whether or not it was made up, maybe one can still become the special. He saves them all by sacrificing himself and jumping into the infinite abyss of epicness.
Now it's your turn to be the hero.
At the end of his fall, Emmett is thrown into another universe, a parallel dimension, the world of the gods. He lands in our world, and we find out that the plot we've been watching is a story that's been played out within the mind of a child. The conflict within the Lego movie was a reflection of a real conflict between a father and son.
You know the rules. This isn't a toy.
It kind of is.
No, actually, it's a highly sophisticated
interlocking brick system.
The entire time, Lord Business was the father, and we watch as he begins to use the Craggle on the Legos in the real world in parallel with Lord Business using it in the Lego world. Emmett defies the laws of reality and goes after the piece of resistance. The child quickly sees this, distracts the father, shows us the Believe Cat poster, and then sends him back into the Lego world. The master builder within Emmett has finally been unlocked. He builds a fighting robot machine, kicks some ass, and comes face to face with Lord Business. Okay guys, we finally made it. Everything we've discussed so far comes together at this very moment. We're gonna watch the final scene, and I wanna do that really fucking cringy thing that people do where they don't say or do anything, they just react with facial expressions.
Because you are the special. And so am I. And so is everyone. The prophecy is made up, but it's also true. It's about all of us. Right now, it's about you. And you still can change everything.
That was good, right? I put my face in someone else's content to make it my content. We've already mentioned a few flaws with the two narratives of Follow the Instructions and Follow Your Heart, but perhaps the biggest flaw is the way it led each party to completely misunderstand the myth of being special. Those who follow the instructions only find meaning in things that are solely in the instructions. Anything beyond that has no value whatsoever. So being special isn't even a concept that can exist within the framework which they're working. It's all just meaningless nonsense.
What a bunch of hippy-dippy baloney.
Those who follow your heart believe that the myth has meaning, but they've distorted the meaning. Being special became something you have to be worthy of attaining by living up to a particular standard. When nothing meets their individual ideals, all their standards, ideas, and the very framework from which they've staked their lives comes crashing down. For each of these narratives, being special becomes a myth, but in the modern definition of myth, it sees it as a false belief or idea. However, in the final scene, Emmett comes up with his greatest idea yet. He says that, yes, the myth of being special might be made up, but that doesn't mean it's a false belief or idea. Emmett draws on something closer to the Greek idea of myth, mythos, where the truth it offers doesn't lie within the propositional facts, but instead the truth it offers is in its meaning. And after that, he offers a new meaning by saying that the prophecy is actually about everyone. Because there's this inherent creative potential within us all, the special is in each and every one of us. Unfortunately, Emmett had to suffer at the hands of both narratives in order to learn the true value of creativity. Under the narrative of Follow the Instructions, any kind of creativity was pushed so far down that it became non-existent. Here he was the most uninteresting, ordinary person in the world. Under the narrative of Follow Your Heart, creativity was elevated so high that it became impossible to attain. Here he was substandard and unworthy. In their own way, each narrative destroyed Emmett's creative potential. This shows that the danger of getting caught up in either one of these narratives is that it destroys the very thing that makes us special. The master builders had to learn that there's value in creativity, even if they personally see it as something that's dumb and useless.
That is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
And then Lord Business had to learn that there's value in creativity, even if it's what lies beyond the instructions.
Finn, did you make all of this?
In the end, Emmett has redirected our attention to its proper aim. The path we should take is not one based solely on the instructions or solely based on the heart. We have to take whatever path it is that leads us to create. Creativity is the ultimate goal. It's the most meaningful and valuable thing that you can do. I mean, look at what the writers had to say about what this movie means.
It's a guy who is not special at all. And just the mere fact that he's told that he is the thing that activates something that we hope is in everybody, you know, a creative ability that just needs a little bit of encouragement.
We hope the movie inspires people to get back in touch with their creative side and go out and build and make things and innovate.
If we wanted to know the meaning of the movie, I probably could have just played that clip, but whatever, I like adding my pseudo-intellectual commentary. This movie was about realizing the inherent value of creativity itself. It's what makes us special. So whether you prefer to follow the instructions or follow your heart, all that matters is that when life gives you an opportunity to create something, go out and do it. Just do it! In every moment that you choose to create, you are the most talented, most interesting, most extraordinary person in the universe. So I guess IKEA is not that bad. After the credits, I'm gonna quickly talk about what I think the meaning of this movie has wrong. So stick around after if you'd like to hear that. But otherwise, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Okay, I'm gonna give some of my personal thoughts on the meaning of the Lego Movie. My critique is not that I disagree with the message, but that the message doesn't go far enough. It expresses the moral implications of creativity itself as something that's good and what makes us special, and I agree with all that, but it fails to mention much on the moral implications of the things we create. You know, a movie like Oppenheimer, for example, looks at whether or not we should use our creative potential to build something like a nuclear bomb that could wipe out all of humanity. You know, people like Hitler, Stalin, or Mao all thought that they were creating a better world. Recognizing the inherent value in creativity is a great message, but we have to be aware of the danger that comes along with our innate ability to create as well. And I mean, I don't blame the writers for not including this. You can only pack so much into an hour-and-a-half animated kids movie. And I'm not even gonna go into much detail here because this is just a quick post-credits segment, but I do think it's important to share the value of creativity and the value of our creations in tandem with one another, just so that we can get a more well-rounded understanding of our creative potential. I just wanted to leave you with that to think on and consider. If that's a topic you want to hear more about, or if you have any examples of a story that talks about this, hit me up and let me know because I'd love to hear your thoughts.